committee meeting for Monday, October 7th, 2024. The first committee is Public Safety.
I'd like to call the Public Safety Committee to order. We have 2 items on the agenda tonight, the first of which is the BJA fiscal year 2024 Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant. Lieutenant Nowicki.
Good evening. So the Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant Act of 1988 essentially provides us or affords us the opportunity to equip our officers with bulletproof vests. Ultimately, this year they're giving us $30,442.74. We are required 50% match by the city. This will give us a total of 46 bulletproof vests this year. And the police department recommends the acceptance of the BJA grant award.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
The next item, which is the New York State DMV GTSC Grant Award for fiscal year 2025. Lieutenant Nowicki.
Yes, thank you. So this one is a total grant award of $46,000. This requires no matching funds by the city. And ultimately what it lets us do is it hires overtime and we can focus our efforts on increasing seatbelt usage, reducing dangerous driving behaviors with the ultimate goal of reducing serious injuries and death from traffic crashes.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Mr. Patrick?
I just was wondering in terms of the amount on the grant, which is not that high, but that allows for additional enforcement.
Right.
Do you think that that will help at all when we hopefully reduce the speed limit? There's been question about...
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that we do is by and large backed up by statistics, so we know where the hotspots are in the city. And that's exactly what happens. We'll hire enforcement detail to go to these hotspots. And hotspots in terms of basically crashes or speeding. So we'll go to those spots, and it's described in the grant when we hire it every year where we're actually going to deploy the effort. So we already have a pretty good idea where we're going to be going for that year. So to answer your question directly, I do believe it'll reduce that crashes and fatalities.
Thank you.
Ms. Porterfield?
So it says that the effective date is October 1, and you have to sign the contract before it's in effect. So clearly we're past October 1st. So will we still be able to, is there a end date? So or basically I want to know, will you have the opportunity to spend the money in time because we're a little bit behind getting started?
That's right. Yes, we can spend it. And the lieutenant in charge of traffic ultimately manages the grant as far as the financial responsibility, and he reports on it every quarter. So that's right.
All right,
We can spend it.
thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Are there any other items to the fall public safety? Hearing none, may I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Mr. Mudavaran couldn't be with us this evening, so I will be calling Finance Committee to order. We have 7 items on the agenda, and the first item is regarding the code enforcement fee increases. And Mr. Trincy?
Yes.
If you could come up, just... Thank you.
That one's not right. That's okay. I'm going to see. Put in read this.
Well, Brian Trency, Chief Building Inspector for the City of Schenectady, and I'm here to propose fee increases for code enforcement. I'd like to start by, with these fee increases, we want to be able to cover operational costs of the services we provide here in the city. And the last documented increases were in mid-90s with some small increases in 2017. Since these changes, salaries have nearly doubled across the board, the administrative salaries and code enforcement officer salaries. And the cost of labor and supplies have risen significantly. We're all aware of normal inflation that has taken place, and with that inflation, the supplies and labor have increased. Application process is very expensive, and along with that, the cost to process those applications and initiate these permits get quite expensive. The advancement of technology is great, but it does come at a cost. There are often fees for requests that for reporting, and these requests, we get billed for those requests. So there's some costs that are incurred there. Our regulatory council is constantly evolving to keep up with certifications, and so based on this, we try to keep up with our training and certifications, and this gets hard to handle. So it is necessary to increase fees, keep up with the certification and the training. We also we have some. We do want to hire. We want to hire qualified personnel to perform thorough inspections to make sure that we have safe structures in the city. And along with that comes some added costs. And we need to increase fees to keep up with this staffing. So, based on that, our current permit fee structure is in need of coming up to date and increasing these fees. So I have done some analysis with neighboring communities, and with Albany and Troy being the benchmark, our neighboring cities, and with this analysis and these comparisons, we are still with the imposed fees that are proposed. We will still be on the low side. There's a graph here that shows that we will still be on the low side of the fees that are proposed. So let's add that. With that being said, I'd like to get to the fee structure. We have highlighted, I'd like to go over with the structure we have here on the left, highlighted in yellow. We have our current fee structure, and on the right in green, all the proposed fee increases are highlighted in red. I did do some permit fee samples here. On the left, showing our current costs for projects that take place in the city, and on the right, the adjusted fee for permits that will be in place with the proposed fee increases. So I started off with a residential job cost of $10,000, and you can see on the left we have a fee of $156, and with the new proposed fee increases, we'd be at $205 with comparable permit. Moving on to a $100,000 project, we go from $606 to $835. Moving on, we do have some high-level projects in the city, and for a $1 million project, we have a permit cost of $2,406, and that would move to $3,535. Suppose we had a $50 million event center being built in the city. You see, we have a $100,406 permit fee, and the new would be at $150,660. A project like that would be able to cover third-party firms to come in and do our review process on a large project like that. Plus, we would be able to cover internally our involvement in a project like that. So, this would be the bread and butter of the fee increases. And I'll move on and we'll show some further increases. We have some fee increases. We have some fees proposed that didn't exist, being some certificates, and these require some staffing costs that we were not getting compensated for in the past, and we'll show some of them here. I won't go over everything in detail, but it is detailed in the report that you have there, and I expect you'll review it and go over that in detail. The primary justifications for the fee increases are advances in technology. We would like to, cover costs of city operations and future development internally in the department. So this will, help growth of our staffing in the city and further help cover operational costs. I would like to open it up to any questions or comments.
It's Ms. Patrick.
Oh, sorry, I was forgetting I was Mr. Newberry.
Okay,
Mr. Farley.
Thank you. So, do you, and I know that there's a lot of variables that would go into this, but is there like any projections of like how much, increased revenue that would mean for the city like annually?
So we, I did have a reference, getting started.
Sorry.
In your report, it would show that there was approximately a $200,000 increase
Okay.
for the year 2024. And we also showed some increases that would have happened all the way up to back to 2020.
Okay, yep.
Okay. It's in the, I believe it's $235,000 in the year 2024. And there's been stability with the amount of permits processed since 2020, pretty much across the board, except for a spike in 2021 due to COVID and the high level of improvements to properties that were done with COVID taking place. Other than that, we've been very consistent with permits. So I believe that figure would be very similar in 2025 and beyond.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Mr. Williams?
So I thank you for the presentation. I think there's a very important emphasis on education and enforcement. If you would be able to speak to just the status of how many permits are submitted annually, and if that's an accurate reflection of the work that's being done, and also do you feel confident in the enforcement that you're able to support enforcing these new fees?
So the amount of permits that are processed annually are near 3,000. I believe with these fee increases, we'll be able to staff properly, and we'll be able to do a more thorough job with our inspections and have safer structures in the city.
Thank you.
Good.
Other questions? Ms. Portica?
So on the last page that you had it up there, on the certificate of licensing, certificate of completion, certificate of compliance, So currently, there's no fees. Can you explain what a certificate of completion is that currently, previously had no fee, and now there is a fee?
So certificate of completion is when a job is done, and inspections are all completed, and the job is completed, and a final inspection is completed and passed. A certificate of completion ensures that it's a certificate that says that that job is completed and completed properly and up to code.
So, just to be clear, you're increasing the fine for to pull a permit in the first place. Is that correct?
Increasing what?
The fine to pull a permit. The fee to pull the permit. On the fine, it's a fee.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
And then, in addition to that, adding another fee to then close out your job.
A certificate of completion is only processed and given upon request of the applicant, of the permit holder. That's not given out on every single job, so only upon request.
So could you just tell me why someone would want it and other people just like, I don't really care?
There's a number of reasons they could want that. It's for show that their company, maybe for marketing reasons on their own behalf. It could be for banks. It could be for financing. There's a multitude of reasons that they could want that.
Right. And so these are done by the city?
These are done by code enforcement staff, administrative staff, and code enforcement.
There's no third-party inspection that needs to be done outside of this?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
Down there?
Oh,
No.
Mr. O'Brien.
Just for the council, I submitted proposed draft legislation in the package for this week, and that would some of the proposed fee changes require code changes, and they're covered in that omnibus ordinance that goes through all those code changes. Others just require a resolution, and that per the code, if you adopt that resolution with the attached fee schedule, the fees are adopted. So in going through the proposed fee schedule with the building inspector, I was able to take the ones out that require code amendments, and then there's another one that just requires a resolution with the fee schedule attached. And if you wish to proceed on this, you will need to have a public hearing, and it would be a public hearing on all matters. It would be the amendment of the code, any sort of building, it would be referred to as increase in building fee, building codes fees. It would have all the sections of the code that are going to be amended, but it would be just one group, because it is one category. It's building codes fees, and just like you've just been given the presentation here, that's how it will be presented to the public in this fee schedules that are proposed. So you can call for a public hearing for the 28th. The resolution would have to be passed next week, and then the fee schedule would be, the 28th would be the public hearing, and then if you decide to adopt the ordinances, you can adopt the ordinances, and the effective date for the fee schedules would be January 1. So you can work those figures into your budget analysis.
Okay. That's an important point. So discussion regarding, so we have in front of us in our packet tonight the resolution that Mr. O'Brien has prepared to have a public hearing on October 28th. So would folks like to move forward with that?
So right now, we're just calling for the public hearing. We're not
Right.
passing anything
Right,
tonight.
that's what I'm saying, but I mean, just want to, it's not on our, agenda, so I just wanted to,
The public hearing is not on the agenda?
this one is not.
No, it's a resolution, it's part of the presentation
Okay.
package.
So right now, you want to call for the public hearing?
A public hearing, yeah,
All right.
and then you'll have it on the 28th, the resolution next week.
Okay.
I do have another question.
Okay.
Under the working without permits, previously it was just doubling the fines, so now you want fees So now you want to double the fees and charge an additional $100, is that?
Yes.
Or 100 for a residential, 200 for a commercial. So an additional fee on top of the double fines.
Yes,
Okay.
that's good. Yeah.
Okay. Just,
Other questions?
It just,
Mr. Fowler?
even with that, we still, I appreciate the comparative analysis that you did with neighboring municipalities, and it seems like we still would be under.
Yeah, these are with, so those comparisons are done with the proposed fee changes,
Sure.
not before. So,
Right.
I mean, we're still
Wait.
lower than our neighboring cities.
Any other questions? If not, I'll call for a motion for this public hearing that would be held on October 28th.
Thank you for your time.
thank you.
Okay, second? I'll second it. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the reminder for the public hearing for the 2025 proposed operating budget and capital budget for the city of Schenectady. And this is just a reminder that the public hearing will be held on October 15th, 2024. Next item is a reminder of a public hearing to amend sections 124.13 and 124-22 of the Schenectady City Code, increasing administrative fees regarding false alarm calls. And that public hearing will be on October 15, 2024. Mr. O'Brien?
Yes, I just have a question regarding the council's position on this. I provided in there a draft ordinance, which indicated from the committee meeting last time of the reduction from 4 to 2 false alarms.
Yep.
But I wasn't sure, and I just highlighted it there, but I didn't put any bracketed language in. Those highlighted parts in section E, the bottom part of your that paragraph there, those are the current fees. I didn't know whether or not you wanted to change those fees down below. I highlighted them. The two false alarms goes down to 2, but I was uncertain whether you wanted to change those fee amounts that you see there, 25, 50, and 75. I didn't know whether that you wanted to change that or not. They're highlighted but not amended.
I don't think there's any discussion about increasing the fees, but just lowering the number of times.
Okay. Okay. Yes. I mean,
Mr. Williams?
Yeah, no, correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Patrick, I know last time or I can speak for myself, I thought that the fees that they currently stand were relatively low, and I was under the impression we didn't have to put in place any specific amounts because the public hearing as it was listed identified that there would be subsequent changes in the future. Is that correct?
I think was doing the public hearing for the changes overall, and I think the idea was when we came back here tonight, you would revisit that to see whether or not you wanted to change those numbers in that part of the formula.
Ms. Porterfield?
No, my hand's on.
Oh, sorry.
I'm clicking my pen.
So discussion about that in terms of raising these fees? Mr. Farley?
Yeah, I could be remembering correctly. During the presentation that we had, I thought that there was discussion. I thought there was a suggested fee increase with that.
I agree.
I could be remembering that wrong.
But it's not reflected here at all.
Yeah.
So I don't
I don't know.
I don't recall
I
that.
don't know if a final number
No.
came about, and I know it was discussion on it, but I don't think it was formalized.
And we don't have anyone here
No, we don't.
to tell us about that. So
Well, this is,
can we call for the,
What's your question?
whether we wanted to raise these fees for false alarms?
If you look to cover the expenses, and again, we're taking the number of calls and reducing it for the fees, so it's kind of like the freebies in there, but it's expensive to put a piece of fire apparatus at a scene. There's virtually no call where we send out one piece of apparatus. Runs like $450, $550 at minimum per piece of, again, apparatus. Police calls can be widely variant from it's a one-man car going there, it's a two-man car going there, or for multiple cars. So these fees do not cover the cost of delivering the service. And at the same time, we're very cognizant of what are good faith efforts so that people wouldn't be assessed. To think of an example, in the spring and fall, you get, as it gets cooler outside, you'll get humidity. So if somebody's using a clothes dryer, somebody might be home and they don't expect it, it will go outside and the air will condense. It'll look like it could be smoke. It's really just steam. You know, if a neighbor is calling that in as a fire, we would still treat that as a good faith response, so that there would be no assessment for that type of call. It's where you get people who have alarm systems that are overly sensitive or flawed in some way, so that the dog jumps up against the door, rattles it, and the contacts on the alarm vary, so you trip an alarm. Again, we do it a couple times, it's fine. When it's multiple times, we're, again, looking to be able to put resources where they're really needed. And how do you incentivize people to be compliant and do it so the numbers that are in place are low? The proposal is to reduce the number of free times, but again, it's up to the council in terms of the actual fee structure to look to cover those.
Ms. Porterfield?
So at this point, I mean, we could go call for public hearing, and then I forgot which officer it was that brought this forward. No, oh,
I think it was Officer Nowicki?
yeah, no, I'm saying.
It was Officer Nowicki.
So we could still go forward with the public hearing and make it, we could then have a discussion after that in terms of increasing fees if that's what the council is inclined to do.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien?
You can, have the public hearing next week, see what happens, and then revisit it in 2 weeks, and then finalize that.
Wouldn't we want to know whether we were going to charge penalties before the public, wouldn't we want the public to be able to respond to the fees as part of the public hearing, Mr. Williams?
But that's, I'm pretty sure, in the way the public hearing was written, was to identify that these fee increases were subject to change.
There'll be public comment, and we can revisit in 2 weeks, and then and we'll see what the comments are, and then we'll get more information. So
Can I just ask, these fees that you highlighted here,
those are current.
those are current, okay?
Right.
Okay, Mr. Williams?
And then just as a point of reference, I wanted to appreciate the mayor's comment, and also as a point of clarification, I yield to the understanding that we'll never be able to fully recoup the funds or the administrative costs and the true response costs of responding to any of these instances. I think it's just having a stronger fine structure or fee structure for just the continued misuse of this response from our city. Just because to your point again, it takes a considerable effort to respond to any of these instances. And even with the reduction in the number of the freebies, as you highlighted, I still think there needs to be more of a steeper financial or monetary effects.
Okay, any other questions or comments? All right, so that public hearing will be held on October 15th. So the next item on the agenda is also calling for a public hearing, and this one is a public hearing to amend Section 92.7 of the Schenectady City Code, increasing fees and charges for police department records. That public hearing will also be on October 15th, 2024. Any comments or questions? Okay, so the next item is a reminder that we also will be having a public hearing to discuss amending City Code 144-14C, increasing dog license fees, and that public hearing will be on October 15th, 2024. Any comments or questions? Okay, and the next public hearing reminder is to amend, excuse me, Section 248-2 of the Schenectady City Code, increasing parking violation fines, and that public hearing will be on October 15th, 2024. Any comments or questions on that? Okay, so our last item for Finance Committee tonight is Ms. Barash is going to update us about the tax foreclosure process. Ms. Barash.
We have requested that this item be removed, but we're still compiling information.
Okay, yes, thank you.
So 2 weeks, could we bring it back, or will you let us know?
I'll let you know.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. All right, so that was the last item on the agenda. Unless there's other items to come forward, I'd like to have a call for coming out of Finance Committee.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you. I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call the order of government operations. We have one agenda item, and that is the appointment of Naeem Afzal, of Alexandria Bland, and the reappointment of Randall Beach to the Planning Commission. Mayor McCarthy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As terms have expired there, we've done some outreach, submitted names for your consideration to continue that board's good work, and appreciate your favorable consideration.
Any questions or comments on that? President Porterfield?
I have a question. One of the people that Mayor, that you put forward to consider is a former employee. And I know that the last time that we put forth a former employee to be named to a board, that moved forward and was vetoed. So I'm not clear why we're having different considerations now than we did a few months ago.
Which one is that?
I don't think I need to say that.
Well, somebody in the Corporation Counsel's office who is litigating items with the city, we'd like to get into a lot more detail, and more than willing to do that.
I would, because this individual had a pretty high position.
I'm more than happy to put together a full presentation of the conflict of interest that exists with that and the far below professional performance of that individual. And if you're hanging your hat on that, it's the wrong one. These are good people. They're going to be able to do the job, and would ask the council's consideration for these individuals.
So I think that I have a right to my opinion, and so saying hang my hat on it, it's a question that something happened, I'm bringing it forward. So I don't think the fact that I'm bringing it forward means that I'm hanging my hat on it, means I'm bringing a question forward. And I have a right to do that. So, and I'm not questioning whether they're good people or not, so please don't put it out there like I'm saying that they're not good people. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm simply saying that there was an individual who was a former employee who in a high position, and this person was also similarly in a high position, not the same department.
So I'll,
and that's
for
all.
the next cycle, do a full presentation.
That's entirely up to you, but that's certainly my question. And I don't have any concern with any of the others. That was a concern that I had.
Thank you. Knowing the three individuals that the mayor put forward, I was especially excited about Naeem, only because he worked for the city for many years, still works in that same department for another municipality. So I think having him on the board is invaluable, as well as Ali and Randall. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
So again, I refrain from saying an individual's name because this is not about individuals. So just to be clear, and my question is about the consistency of appointing people. That's it. So that's why I didn't mention their name.
Well, they're right here.
It's here for us. It's not here for everyone that's listening right now. So that was my question.
So it seems like the question is more about process, not the person.
Of course.
Okay, that's a point of clarity. Okay. Any other questions, comments, or concerns around this?
And that's just for the record, that's the only one that I'm questioning, only because everybody else doesn't have that same kind of conflict that person does.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on this? So at this point, maybe we entertain a motion to maybe we treat all of them separately, and then Corporation Council, if that's the appropriate response.
The members of the committee can make a motion to However, you've got 3 candidates. If you want 2 out of 3, you can do 2 out of 3 and just leave the 1 for the next time, or you can do 3 as a complete, and then have a vote on all 3 on the council meeting on Monday night. If you want to vote 2 out or 3 out, it's up to how the committee wants to do it.
And just to be clear, I'm asking for affirmative consideration for all 3.
I'm comfortable moving 2 out today.
Okay, and so I think that just based on committee members that are here right now, as myself and President Porterfield, I think the wise thing to do right now, because if we try to move all 3 of them forward, I think President Porterfield has been very clear that she's concerned around the process and consistency of the process. So if we attempt to move all 3 of them out, I don't think that we'll be successful doing that. So I would like to entertain a motion to move, that would be Alexandra Bland and the reappointment of Randall Beach to the Planning Commission.
I'll second that.
Can I make a comment?
Please.
I actually do feel, I just do want to say that I think that Naeem would be excellent on this committee, and I do think that there's a difference between the previous discussion in terms of the employee and the former employee that's being discussed here. So I just want to go on record and say that I think that all 3 should be appointed.
Thank you for that.
And I respect your opinion, but that's my opinion, and I just want to, the process. It's about the process, and I want to continually make it clear it's not about the individual. I also obviously know the individual as well, when he worked for the city and did a fine job, but I'm talking about the process.
Okay, so I think what we're talking about here again is about the process, not the person. And so what we'll do is I'll second that.
I second it.
Okay.
Oh, I'll make the motion. I can make the motion.
I made the motion.
Okay, I second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
So Mr. Mayor, are you going to put together a presentation you were saying for the next, to bring us back for this person? Is that what you were saying you were going to do?
Well, where the council presidents, names came forward that I considered really to be poor choice. The performance was substandard, and I did not support them being moved on to a committee. That's my prerogative. This, in terms of diversity, you're holding up a name today. It's the council's prerogative to do that. Go ahead and do it.
Okay. Well, I'm not comfortable with the characterization of holding up a name as the council's, the actions that the council's taken today. That's why I immediately was asking, well, who was it? And if it's, I personally think that he would be great to serve on the board as well. I think we're all in agreement with that, but I think that the question was about the process, and if we're making a certain set of calculations when it comes to one individual, then in the act of consistency and integrity, we're asking the same questions for everyone. And I think that's, and if you were going to come bring forth some more information, Mr. Mayor, I think that then we'd be in a better
Remember,
position.
before the council, in terms of process, move the names forward. You're not moving them all forward here. That legislation came forward. I vetoed a portion of it. So if you want to be consistent in the process, you move them forward. And then if I don't like them, then I would veto it. So again, you're choosing to do something different than what was done before.
Okay.
Well, that wouldn't make sense because these are names you brought forward, so you wouldn't veto the names that you put forward. So I'm just asking for more information. I'm not sure why that is, and it's the same process. I mean, I'm talking about the process. So for me to ask for more information, as we do around this table consistently, I don't see why that is really something that people have concerns with.
Ms. Patrick.
I'm wondering whether, just bring this up, I wonder
To be clear,
whether,
we've already voted, so
I'm sorry?
I'm saying we've already voted. I'm listening.
well, I wonder whether we could have separated a discussion around process in the future when we do this, and these 3 names being brought forward here this evening. since it sounds like the three names would probably have acceptance by, I bet, the majority of the council, if it was to come out of committee. So I just raised that point. I'm not really sure
Yeah, no,
if we can.
I would say that I think that that's the next best course of action is to kind of, is for us to examine that process and how, and what questions are we asking and why. And then I think that's we need to do that obviously so we can have a better understanding before we get to this point, Mr. Williams.
So I think it's worth noting, I think to Ms. Patrick's point, I don't know how beneficial a conversation before would have been because it was only at this point that it became like a highlighted issue of concern by Ms. Porterfield, not putting words in your mouth. I truly believe in transparency. So if the mayor had additional considerations for his choice previously, I would appreciate that insight. And I think as a checks and balances, that deeper analysis helps me personally understand how that decision making goes, and I think this just helps ensure the efficacy of the entire process. So I don't see that as a bad thing. And again, making sure we are intentionally highlighting there are no issues throughout this entire conversation to any of these individuals. I think it is just a matter of consistency, just wanting to wait till the other answers are being addressed.
Okay.
Sorry to belabor it, but I believe that we did address those other issues on the other appointment when we discussed that appointment and did not make that appointment. And here tonight, we do have the background information that we need about the individuals that are on the agenda this evening for this particular. So I think we did have pretty, I think the mayor expressed his concerns about that other individual at the meeting where we didn't appoint him to the committee.
Just to be clear, we did appoint him, and then the mayor vetoed the appointment.
So we did at least
Yes.
fully vet that person, is I guess what I'm saying.
Right, and I guess,
And I think you expressed your concerns then. But,
I don't remember it being that detailed.
so if one of the questions that was brought up in the prior attempt to appoint was that the person was a previous employee, then if that was a point of conversation, I wish at that point we would have kind of hashed it out moving forward to say, okay, well, this is why it could be an issue moving forward, and then we might have not have been here. I don't think that the mayor, I believe that the mayor is acting in good faith, trying to put forth someone that we all feel is qualified, and I feel that President Porterfield is acting in good faith and saying, let's make sure our checks and balances are consistent. So I don't think that there's really an issue around who we think should be appointed or whether this person is worthy or not. It just seems like a question of process, and that's one that we can address moving forward. And then if this type of situation arises again, then we kind of know our playbook from that point. So I think, again, it's not necessarily a disagreement, but more as it is just a lack of clarity in this process. And I think both our mayor and our council president are both acting in good faith to do so. So with that said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn government operations.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
Did you move 2 names forward?
We did.
Yeah. Did you vote on it?
We did. Yeah, we did.
Thank you.
So I'd like to convene Health and Recreation Committee. We have one item on the agenda, and that's a discussion of the renaming of Woodlawn Park. Ms. Porterfield.
This item is being removed, and this request has been rescinded from the people that requested it.
Oh, okay. So I'd like a motion to adjourn Health and Recreation.
Second. Motion to adjourn.
Okay. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
I'd like to call to order City Development and Planning. We have 16 items on the agenda. The first one is the award of bid and contract for chilled water piping repairs to Campito Plumbing in the amount of $94,493. Mr. LaFawn.
Good evening. The legislative request you have in front of you tonight is for the bid of the chilled water piping repairs to the general service. There were 2 bids that were submitted, one from Saviano Construction and one from Compito. You also have the bid net, so I believe there was approximately 12 vendors who took it, but only submitted bids. The lowest responsible bid was from Compito for $94,493. Recommendation is to move forward with the award of that bid so that the glycol pipes be repaired prior to winter.
Any questions, concerns?
I'll move it.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. LaFawn, if I could just ask you this, we did talk about it, didn't actually make it an agenda item, but I know that you've been visiting neighborhood associations and discussing the proposed changes to the trash collection, and I don't know that all council members know about that, and if you could just kind of give us kind of the brief overview that you've been giving to the neighborhood associations.
If you weren't aware, there was a trash committee meeting put together during the summer. We met to discuss potential ways to reduce the excessive waste that we're picking up at curbside and to address the bulk items that we are picking up. Because currently, under the C code, we take everything that's left there. It's covered in the trash fees. It's getting very expensive, very time consuming, removing, we used to call jackpots, but excessive waste. So I have been going out to the neighborhood association meetings to let them know that currently there is some changes coming forward with council approval. One is the amount of trash that will be allowed per unit. The amount of trash that was, let's say, discussed and tentatively agreed upon were 6 trash bags. I think they were 32-gallon bags for one 45-gallon can per residential unit. So if you had a 2-unit, you're going to get 14 bags. If you had a 3-unit, you're going to get 21 bags. And then we did develop a list of bulk items. Each item has a fee associated with it, whether it's a couch, a sofa, a mattress, in increments of $5. And how it would be done. Currently, it was discussed that you come to City Hall like you do with a permit for development or a building department. You fill out a form down in room 9, you go up the receipts, you prepay for what you want picked up, whether if you got 20 bags, I think we came with an extra bag of trash. It's not like a bulk item, it's $2.50. Bulk items, don't hold me to the exact number, I believe a mattress was $10. After you pay for it, you come downstairs, we would give you the appropriate stickers, and we would set the date to have it out on the curb, and then our staff would know that with these stickers on, we would be taking that, and it was paid for. So it has been being discussed. I went to 3 neighborhood meetings. I'm going to a 4th one this Thursday. So hopefully my budget presentation is quick because it's 7 o'clock. I have to get to G really fast. Not only about that, but on Screwkill. So I am going out. I have been speaking in regards to the trash.
So then, after all, so the process after this would be, as in terms of the council? What would the process? No, I'm asking the question. What would the process be after the?
We would present to the council the fee structure, rate increases, and the council would then decide whether or not you want to move forward with it. And then I believe it would be changed in the city code.
Yes.
So we're just informing the public right now?
Yes, that is being
Or
looked at.
suggest, all right. Is there room for public feedback on that, or?
I've answered some of the questions. I've said anybody who has any other questions, give them my email. I haven't received any other questions about it, but I think most residents who obey the current, even though it's not a rule, but appropriate law on trash, it's the people who are abusing it. We know trash comes in from outside the city. People live outside the city, we have rental units in the city. You can go by some of these units and there's just a tremendous amount of trash. I think it's more going after the residents or the landlords who are abusing it.
Mr. Williams?
So I just wanted to thank you for that unscheduled update. I really appreciate it. And as we get into the budget season, I imagine that's going to be an issue we hit a little bit in detail. If you're comfortable at this moment, are there any reservations to the current fee increases and the receipts?
No, there was no. It more was the questions I got. A couple of them more of a convenience of coming down to City Hall having to prepay, whether there was the ability to do something via the phone and calling with a credit card. It gets a little difficult because then how do you get the stickers to it? You'd have to keep more of a checklist, and the route foreman would have to have that checklist. So when they go out to that house, they compare the checklist to what they have. But, I mean, there's an inconvenience to almost anything. And so,
Thank you, Chris.
Again, thank you for doing that community outreach. I appreciate that, helping inform the public. I was thinking that and again, are very preliminary, and I'm sure that we'll probably address this at another time, but my burning question right now is like, so would it be, people would be able to come in and maybe prepay for a couple tags for what could be and then later, I guess the question would be, would they have to communicate that, oh, I have a mattress out, or would they be able to kind of prepay for the tag, slap it on the mattress to say?
because it's evolving, if they came in sort of prepaid for a sheet of stickers.
Yeah, that's all.
And they called in and said, look, I've got a mattress and a box spring. I've got my stickers on it. It'll be picked up. We just have to know. It's when we get into the no stickers, The thing is, there are, some things are being taken advantage of.
Yes.
And, it's obvious.
Thank you.
Mayor, comment?
Thank you, Madam President. Again, in this process, last year, this was a major point of contention in terms of the adoption of the budget. Our current code dealing with garbage collection is out of date, it's flawed, and basically nobody in the city fully complies with the code. We set up meetings, went through things looking, the simple analysis was jackpots. Somebody puts 4 tons of material out there, we pick it up. We've had a number of ongoing meetings. It is not a simple solution. It's a complicated fact pattern in which there are a lot of variables to it. In that, the council president declined to participate after a certain point. And again, I can't build in operational efficiencies unless I have changes in the code. That has to come from the city council. And looking for some level of indication of what the council will support or not support to be able to move forward in this. And some of this will end up getting pushed through during this budget process, which again builds tension and creates conflict that tried to avoid. But again, would defer to your position where you said you don't want to participate anymore and don't want to actually move something forward to the council.
Okay, so let's just be clear. I never said I didn't want to move anything forward to the council. So let's go over what really happened. This began in January, and I did not step away until July. That was 7 months later. During that time, we did not come to anything concrete. Nothing came before the council to even consider. We had one update, and it was just kind of an overview, but there was nothing that was concrete brought before the council that said, would you take a look at this and would you move this forward? There was a discussion about something becoming misdemeanors versus right now it's a violation in terms of trash coming from outside the city. Again, nothing was concrete was brought before this council. So yes, in July, after meetings from January through July and sitting meeting after meeting, and then the last 2 meetings were canceled, I did step away because I did not see the meeting as being effective and thus really creating any change. In addition to that, in March, I submitted something to the committee to say, here are some of my considerations. Those things were never considered. The one thing that I said early on is if we could just at least look at what has, what's already in the books, and we can start implementing that, and that is putting the trash out early, getting a fee for that. That was done. But beyond that, the things that I put out for consideration were just not considered. And I'm not offended by that. However, there is no point in me continuing to come to meetings if, in fact, my contributions are not moving forward. So in my letter to you, or my email to you, I also said, if you want to submit to someone else, that's fine. Or when you're ready to bring this to the council, please bring it forward. If anyone wants to see my entire email, I'm willing to forward that to you. And everyone on the council knows that I was stepping away because I also emailed them and said that as well. So it's not that we didn't want to bring it to the council. There was nothing to bring forward. And I said, when it comes time, bring it forward. And then, I went to a meeting and I saw that this was already being discussed. So I just wanted the council to know, because I was getting phone calls about, oh, there's going to be fees or limitations on bags. So I just wanted everyone on the council who may not have known that this was already being discussed and was out there. That's all there is to that.
It's solely your prerogative to move legislation forward.
But first you have to give us something to consider as we're doing tonight. And we were not giving anything to consider.
Oh, it's not my turn, sorry.
Did you have your hand up?
No.
You have your hand up?
Oh, yeah. So in discussion of trash, we contacted multiple municipalities. Paul and Chris went out of their way to always make sure to present the committee with what's happening everywhere and out there. And as far as addressing, I mean, we started out as these jackpots or cleanouts, but you couldn't just, we had to actually put a price tag on a chair, a mattress, a dresser, a lamp, anything that won't fit into a bag, which eventually will, I believe, cost myself, who creates a lot of trash, and every taxpayer in the city a lot more money than the $34 or $43 that could have been adopted last budget season, and you still would have been able to put everything, including myself, out of the trash, and it would have been collected. That's all. Thank you.
Go ahead, Ms. Williams.
The one thing I was going to add is just I remember those conversations during our last budget cycle because they were very in-depth. I would say probably one of the two top concerns last year. I would say for me personally, it was wanting to make sure our first response to these heightened fees wasn't looking towards the residents. So I appreciate Mr. LaFond and the committee, all members as it started, and what it kind of evolved into for what they were able to submit. I understand this is not the final solution, but it is a step forward, and it's just making sure that each of us in our capacities just highlight, are we considering this area? Because the one thing I want to not happen, or the one thing I want to prevent, is this causes more pain and frustration, not only for our residents, but also for the employees as they try to implement this and enforce it. But definitely there needs to be a change. For anyone that's not aware, waste removal is far expensive, and it is just growing. And again, we're going to have these in-depth discussions late this week. So not wanting to burn a lot of that energy that we have now. But thank you for the work that's done, and I look forward to seeing this in the coming months.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that impromptu. I appreciate that. The next item is the award of bid contract for emergency service training facility roof simulator to Mid-State Industries. Mr. Wallen.
Hello.
Hello.
So this is a roof training simulator. There is a rendering in your packet of what it would look like. It is a wooden, essentially erector set, designed specifically to simulate when we have to breach a roof, cut open a roof. This is lower than that, as you can see. We still simulate using possibly a ladder, get up on the roof, operate hand tools, things like that to get in. And then the panels that would be then cut could be replaced. This would go in the area that is the fire charging tower facility, in a spot that used to hold a burn pit that was removed and paved over by OGS. Mid-State is a company that we do lots of work with here. We're confident they'll be able to do the work successfully. And the fire department supports moving forward with the project.
Questions, concerns? I'll move it. I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Item number 3 is to authorize the issuance of a revocable permit number 686 to Andy's, I'm not sure, Zen, is his name pronounced Zen actually?
I believe so.
For a sign awnings that overhang cities right away at 469 State Street.
So this is a rebranding of an existing sign. Zen Restaurant is rebranding, as you'll see in the packet. The sign structure will stay, however, the panels will be replaced. His new, same owner, but it's been time, so we wanted to replace it here. We've also included the awnings. That's what the picture is for, to show that they'll be having a new sign panels and awnings.
So the new name will be Ember Court? This is the new name of the business? The change in the name?
Correct, it is a new business.
Oh, new business,
It
same
is a
location.
New business, same location. I don't know what he would call it. It's a rebranding, it's a new, I don't want to ruin anything that's going on. The permit, it's a sign.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
I believe that there's a company, so when we prepare the legislation, we'll insert the company name.
Okay.
I believe that That's just a, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Thank you, Mr. Wallen. Do you have anything else? That's it?
No.
Okay. The next item, number 4, is development of the lead service line replacement inventory action, type 2 action. Mr. Ferrari and Mr. Lukema. Oh, Mr. Ferrari.
Yeah. Hello, everybody, Madam President, Council, Mayor. What we're asking here, the city is about to do a lead service line replacement, and to comply with the actions, we're looking to follow the Seeker Act. And it's been determined that the proposed action will have no adverse impact on the environment or the criteria within. So it's considered a type 2 plan. And this obligation, and we pass this resolution, it satisfies the requirement for EFCs for us to be able to execute the grants that are out there available. So this type 2 seeker would help us get grants to perform the lead service inventory.
I do have a question. So does this have anything, the survey that we got?
Yeah.
So how is this connected to that?
This is in addition to that, right? I'm going to bring Paul Fond.
This will help us qualify for, the survey helps us qualify for the grants, which then this review makes us compliant for the possible state funding, I believe it's federal money that's going through the states. Is that
Correct, it's a $671,000 grant.
We want to definitely hear the money. We want everyone to hear that.
Well, we didn't get the grant yet. This satisfied the requirement for us to apply for the grant.
Okay.
Like Mr. Furry said, this is a requirement that there's no environmental impact because it's a survey. So we're not doing anything to the environment, or we're not constructing anything or building anything, but it is a requirement under EFC that we check. And since it's a type 2, there's no further action needed, but we do have to have a resolution to submit with the packet to meet the requirement. And this qualifies us towards the $671,000 grant for the lead service survey that is currently out there.
So we're going to apply for the grant, and this would...
Yes, and that's just part of the requirement to have that, so we can send it back again.
Okay. Any more questions? Concerns?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the next few will go very quickly. So the next one is a ceremonial resolution recognizing James Thomas Jr. This was on the agenda before, asked that we brought back. I talked to Mr. Thomas and wanted to make sure that the statistics were correct, and I think that's really important, I guess, when you're in sports. So bringing it back and to just move it out again, actually, to present to him, and just wanted to make sure his stats are correct. So I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move it.
I'll second. All those in favor? Aye. Item number 6, ceremonial resolution acknowledging Ferrari's 50-year anniversary. Mr. Mancini.
Yeah, just actually today is the 50-year anniversary.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Where's our snacks?
So I'd like to recommend that we pass a resolution honoring them and 50 years of outstanding service to the community.
I'll move it.
I'll definitely second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The next resolution is celebrating Italian, I'm just sorry. Will this be at our next council meeting, Mr. Mancini?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Just to be sure, I didn't know if there was some special thing going on you wanted to do someplace else. Okay. The next one is a ceremonial resolution celebrating Italian Heritage Month. Ms. DeToro.
Yes, thank you. So I will be presenting this Friday if anyone would like to attend at the Water's Edge Lighthouse to the daughters and sons of, oh dear Lord.
Sons and daughters.
Sons and daughters of Gabrielle D'Annunzio Lodge, Sons and Daughters of America, celebrating October being the, daughters were at it, yes, most recently to the Order of the Sons of Italy. The Order of the Sons of Italy brought it up. Anyway.
OSDIA.
Yes. October is National Italian American Heritage Month, and it's just honoring the Italian heritage here in our country.
And what was the date that you're presenting it?
Friday, I think the 11th. Is that this Friday?
No, that would be not even a Friday, is it?
No, it is Friday.
Is it Friday? So a week from this Friday. right?
No, this
Is this Friday?
This Friday.
October 11th.
Yeah. But, Mr. Toro, we wouldn't have passed it by then. Because we have to pass it at the next council meeting.
Okay, then I'll present it. I'll go to the club and present at a later date then.
All right, so, yeah, if you could just let, because like, I'm sure people would want to come, especially if they get a chance to eat, buy their food though, just to be clear. So if you could just tell us when, you could choose the new date, and then,
I'll make sure I can.
all right. Sorry about that, thank you.
Did we vote on it?
Yes. Oh, so like a motion, please?
So moved.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
And the next is a ceremonial resolution recognizing Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Yes.
Mr. Toro.
The month of November, thank you. And so many individuals are impacted, whether they're very special cause to me. And I will be presenting this at our October 15th meeting.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. And the next one is number 9, ceremonial resolution recognizing October as Polish American Heritage Month.
Yes, so October is also Polish American Heritage Month. Actually, the first, we had Polish immigrants that came to Schenectady actually in the late 1790s. So I would like to be able to honor and celebrate the contributions of Polish Americans to our city and our nation with this resolution.
You have somebody coming to this council meeting?
Yes, it'll be Reverend Kanicki, who's often on the podium with us.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, item number 10 is a review for the ceremonial renaming of a portion of Barrett Street from Huron to the intersection of South Avenue to Marlene Hill Way. The public hearing was held on September 23rd, 2024. Mr. Murillo is not here, so I'll just take this agenda item and so have any discussions around that. Yes, Mr. Toro.
Yes. There's been quite a bit of communication, discussion. Even again today, we received a letter from, another individual. I really think that, again, everyone, acknowledges Marlene Hill and her greatness to the city of Schenectady. There's just been way too much. I'm just not comfortable at this point with some of the letters that we've been getting in, trying to even move this forward. I realize we should honor her. If the family wants, I think, the street that she was born and raised on and what she did there. Reading some of the letters that are coming into us and the individuals that they're from, I just think there's just way too much discussion and information from the community not favoring this for us to kind of reconsider doing an alternative something for Marlene.
We all have gotten the information. I just want to frame this in terms of the fact that we have a process in terms of ceremonial naming, and this family has gone through that process. So and when we first began this discussion, we did talk about having a plaque. We had several things. The council was not in, the family was not in agreement to that, so they wanted to move ahead with the process that we have put in place in terms of ceremonially naming a street. So they've gone through that process. They've turned in more than enough names. I'm sorry, you have something?
Yeah, I just
okay.
want to
You just
go through there's 550 raw signatures, and the ordinance requires 75% from the neighborhood, and the neighborhood, that's 143 signatures. And I looked at the neighborhood as described in Schenectady County Planning, goes from about Knott Street all the way out down to the Stockade out towards Broadway. And I also looked at the election district that particular street is in, and that's in the 4th election district, which goes, the borders go up to Avenue A, Avenue B, bordered by Seneca Street, as if up on Franklin Avenue. So for your reference.
So they met the
No, they
standard?
didn't. No, not the 75%. They did not meet the
Not within that?
that neighborhood. And the neighborhood that I was looking at, the Schenectady County planning definition of neighborhood, as well as the boundaries of the election district, that particular residence.
And looking
or
at
that-
those two things?
it's 143 signatures are out of that neighborhood. Now, what you can do is, there's options. I mean, you can deny it, approve it, or give them 180 days.
So,
To get no signatures.
Right.
Okay, I'm not.
But that's just for the group.
Okay. So now, again, we're putting on a standard that we've never asked other people to do in terms of, did we ever drill down to what a neighborhood looked like? Because we have had other people submit the necessary signatures, and I don't think it ever came to the point that it was questioned, were they really within the neighborhood? So again, I don't want to start creating standards that we did not implement before. If going forward, we need to do that, but we did not do that, and so.
Madam Chair, I'm
not-
just looking at the numbers for this time, and that's how I did it, and I'm reporting back to the council
And
what it is. I don't know what happened in the past.
Yes.
I'm just giving you what the numbers are now.
Indeed, and if in the future we need to move forward, but I think right now we just need to work with the legislation the way it is, and we never again drill down to the 75%. So I'm not inclined to do that. My suggestion is though that, because again we said let's do the plaque, we came up with a number of things. My suggestion would be that because the problem seems to be that the request is that it not be on the same pole. So, but it be in the same neighborhood, even on the same street. So I'm comfortable with it being on the same street. However, instead of the ceremonial sign going north towards Huron, that it would go south towards Union Street, and then it would not be on the same pole. Even the family that brought this forward said they just wanted to do something for their family member. They did not want to interfere with the other family was doing. So in my mind, that would not interfere with the other family was doing, but we would have been giving consideration to both families, as opposed to say, well, go back now and do it wherever else or do something else. We've asked people to do this. We did not give them those drill down specifics. We just gave them a general, and so that would be my suggestion. I went over specifically to drive over to see what it was visually, and so like I said, for me, not going towards Huron Street, but going in the other direction would then satisfy. I won't say it would satisfy everybody. I think it's a fair compromise based on the number of correspondence we've gotten, and as you've alluded to, they haven't always been pleasant, but not necessarily saying which family they came from, but I think there's just been a lot of input and a lot of discussion around this. So that would be my suggestion, that we compromise in that way. So, yes, Mr. Mayor.
This has happened 2 times before. One was with Don Birch. There was a big outpouring, question whether the signatures were solely within that neighborhood or he had a wider constituency. That was put up. The other one was with Martin Luther King Way, renaming the ceremonial component of Albany Street. They did do the level of signatures or whatever. I took and just discounted that and put the sign up independent of that, and it seemed to have made people semi-happy. Some members of the council were mad at me. The general public was happy, but it's the nature of the job. Sometimes you just make a decision, move ahead, and get things done, and not spend all the time and effort milling around on some of these things that really don't matter.
Other council members on this? Mr. Williams? I saw 2 hands like over at the same time.
I was going to say thank you to Mr. O'Brien. I definitely think being on the council, it's been a constantly learning experience for me, but definitely the interpretation of previous, and then as we are provide additional context that helps us understand how best to apply the law as it sees fit. So I want to say one of the measures moving forward, I would like to identify if there's a way we can make that distinction very visible or understanding, not only for ourselves, but also to the applicants who are looking to these types of considerations. To Mr. Toro's point, I definitely was, I'd say, taken aback by the number of correspondence that we've been receiving on this topic, and it seems to be wanting to have a better implementation on location. So to Ms. Porterfield's response, and then to Mr. Toro's of wanting to make sure we do the right step, I think a compromise is more than appropriate. I just want to make sure that we are communicating that to both families and potentially adjusting the law or the code so that we do not have to run into the situation in the future. So potentially having a limit on the number of ceremonial signs in one area, I think that would help us prepare the council on how it is going to practice moving forward.
Was your hand up before?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Ms.
Sure. So I think, my understanding of this is that, we want to be able to honor both these individuals for the contributions that they made to the city of Schenectady. We want to do that in a way that doesn't encroach on one another. And I think that this, what you're suggesting, President Porterfield accomplishes that. I think anytime that you're talking about families and legacies, that a certain level of evokes a certain level of emotion, and I think that, so I'm not surprised that that people have strong feelings as to how we should moving forward. But again, I think that if these are two individuals that contributed to the city, we can make sure that they both get the recognition that they deserve in a way that doesn't encroach on one another. I think that's the best way to do it. I do have a question for Corporation Counsel though. When you were doing your research, can you tell me, like, you're saying that it should be a certain amount of names within the neighborhood? What was the percentage of?
It was 75%.
That's
what the ordinance says.
That's what the ordinance says.
So it's 75% from the neighborhood.
Correct.
And the neighborhood, how I defined it is how Schenectady County Planning defines neighborhood. Plus, I also added on the election district, where that particular street is on, and as part of the neighborhood.
Okay, all right, and how many? So based on what was turned in, how many of those signatures came in within the neighborhood?
Within the neighborhood, based on 143, I believe.
And how many would you need in order to be?
I think it's 200 and some odd signatures to get up to the 375.
Okay.
Ms. Patrick, did you have something?
Well, I think though, I'm not sure about this, but there's not a lot of residential property on the street in terms of numbers of residents,
Yeah, but
right?
Understanding that, I also, I looked, it went, how they define neighborhood is the stockade out to Lower Broadway, and then if you look at the election district, it's all the way past to, out to Seneca Street as a border, and then up to Avenue A and Avenue B, and Rankin Avenue up from that particular neighborhood up Union Street. So it's
large.
It's a large area as far as the definitions under Schenectady County Planning and the election district.
Ms. Baraj, did you want to add something?
Excuse me. Yes, the council can approve or deny the application for any reason or reasons the members determine to be in the best interest of the city per the city code. So you don't necessarily have to have that number of signatures. The council can choose to accept or deny the application for whatever reason the council chooses. So it's not the code. The code, it's not an end-all be-all, the 75%.
Mr. Farley?
Yeah, and that might shed some light on what I was going to think last. And I think moving forward, to Mr. Williams' point, maybe we need to have like a different formula than the 500, because if you don't have 500, in this neighborhood, you can have, selection of, thousands of residents. And in this neighborhood, you might only have, a much smaller amount. So maybe us looking at addressing that in the code, just because I would like the code to define it pretty clear, so it's not really so it's clear for everyone, and and everyone feels better about moving forward, so we know exactly what people's capability to do this. I know that might add some work as far as now we have to have the data on how many eligible people would be able to sign a petition, but I think that is something that we might want to look at as a council moving forward.
Mr. Mancini?
I don't think we should have the family go back and get more signatures. I think they've gotten the signatures. If we were going to change that, we probably should have told them when they expired in the beginning of the process. I like the compromise that you put forward, and I would be in support of that.
So, anyone else? So it's just you and I tonight, Ms. Patrick?
I'm okay with the compromise.
Okay with that. So, do you want to advocate?
Make the motion. We're just doing a portion of Barrett Street from Huron Street to the...
No.
No, okay. Then I need...
Okay, so what I'm suggesting is that we not start at Huron Street, but is it South Avenue the next street over?
I think it was South.
Sorry, is it South Avenue? What I'm suggesting, we start at South Avenue and go towards Union Street so towards the south, as opposed to going to New Huron, which is the north. This way, there's no pole with both on the same sign. And let's just keep in mind that Luigi Lane is not ceremonial, it's actually a changed name, and we've already passed that.
Yep.
And at this point in time, it's whatever the city, the sign department has to do, or whoever, to get that part's already done. So I'm suggesting that we start South Avenue and go south for the ceremonial naming. And that way, hopefully, maybe nobody gets everything they want, but everyone gets something that they want. So that's my suggestion. So that's what the motion would be.
Do you want to make the motion?
I can make the motion. I'd make a motion that we accept the signatures for the ceremonial naming of portion of Barrett Street, starting at South Avenue and 2 blocks to, I think it's 2 blocks to Union Street. Tomorrow we hear that.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you for your discussion. Oh, okay, Mr. Williams.
No, I was just going to say, adding into that, I definitely am a proponent of addressing issues as we encounter them. So as we are moving to a conclusion with this matter, to Corporation Council, recommendations for having clear language, would you recommend either just having our own city definition of neighborhood, or?
I think the definitions are fine. It's neighborhood because each definition is, and coupled with the election district, you get a good sense of the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I also think the way this, as the Corporation Council pointed out, you've got City Council review, may approve or deny the application for any reason or for any reason or reasons the members may determine in the best interest of the city. So you have requirements, but you also have latitude to waive, for lack of a better term, those requirements. So you have a standard, but you also, under the circumstances, you can waive those, and that's what you've done in this particular case. And I think the ordinance, as written, is fine for those situations. There was 500 signatures. The issue was the amount in the neighborhood, but you can accept it or not, and you can deny it for any reason or accept it for any reason. You've indicated the reasons why you accept it.
And I think we should maybe consider the amount of signatures. That's a pretty steep number, but that would be something we would talk about going forward. Jesse, you had something you wanted to add to this?
Yeah, just quickly if I could. So the Department of Development's starting our comprehensive planning thing, and one of the first steps in that is going to be analyzing and defining neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. We're going to be reaching out to them as well, so we can have a very defined set of neighborhoods, get populations and demographics along with that, and I'd be happy to pass that along to the council when the time is ready, so that can help ease this process, which we'll have soon.
That would help our process greatly. If we knew how many people were in each neighborhood, then we could really create our legislation so it's not burdensome for individuals.
Once that's done, you can always amend this ordinance as another subpart, so the following are recognized neighborhoods. And then you'll have a starting point.
Until then, no ceremonial resolutions? Is that what you're Okay, so it's been moved in second. So the next item on the agenda is the vape and smoke shop zoning ordinance and cannabis, right, Mr.?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. O'Brien?
Yes, thank you, Madam President. If you recall, a couple of months ago, you all passed the vape shop ordinance, and at the time there was discussion about cannabis shops. And using that amendment to the code that you all just amended as a starting point for dealing with the zoning of cannabis shops. And as you know, in the last several months, there's been a number of cannabis shops that have been opened throughout the city. 501 State Street, 245 Broadway, Lower Broadway, and I also have provided you, and the city clerk has provided you with a notice of application from a location on Burling Street. Now, the Office of Cannabis Management has issued regulations, and they're commonly referred to as Rule 119. And I previously provided...
I'm sorry, refer to what as
Rule 119.
119.
And I provided you with copies of the relevant portions of Rule 119. And the first part of Rule 119 that we'll briefly talk about is 119.3, is notification of municipalities. So as far as the process is concerned, is that prior to an applicant putting their paperwork with the Office of Cannabis Management, they're supposed to notify us. And that, as you can see, has been done regarding the Burling Street. And as they come through, we should be notified, and then that gives you, the council, the mayor, an opportunity to weigh in on that particular location. And the Office of Cannabis Management sends that up to the board, who actually makes a determination regarding whether they should give a license or not, as to what sort of community issues they are. The other part of the 119th I gave you was that if an applicant feels that a municipality has hindered their ability to run their operation or do their operation, they can go to the Office of Cannabis Management and ask for an advisory opinion. This is a dynamic area. It's changing. And as you know, the Office of Cannabis Management, there was a backlog of licenses, and since the beginning of the year, you can see how the governor put new people in, and you can see the tempo has changed. And I think that this is a time where it's okay to put a pause on to see whether or not you want to zone these, just like zoning the vape and smoke shops. In other words, have a moratorium while a zoning code is amended to deal with vape shops. We are allowed to do that because it's coming to zoning. And I think, if I read in yesterday's Gazette, there was, I believe, the city of Amsterdam has called for a moratorium. Theirs is 90 days. So we have that authority to zone. So before we get to the zoning, we can have a moratorium to see where we want these locations. Because how you want them spaced and what parts of the city you want them. Because the one, with 501 State Street, I'm just picking it out right now, just recently opened, is 1,300 feet, right, Jack? From another one at 245 Lower Broadway, right over here. So, plus there's other applications pending before the planning board of other locations, including one on Eastern Avenue and one other locations, Jack.
There was a proposed location that was approved by OCM for Eastern Parkway over by the Family Dollar. There's one on Lower Broadway, two on Lower State Street, one at the new Blockhouse building, one at the People's Joint that Sean mentioned, one on Crane Street, a couple on Broadway. There's quite a few scattered throughout.
The harbor.
Yeah, and the harbor as well, thank you.
So what we can do is have a resolution calling for a public hearing, calling for a moratorium. The moratorium legislation would be presented to you in 2 weeks with the idea of it being presented and voted on in November, reviewing it and having a 90-day moratorium. But if you want to get to that process, we have to have a resolution calling for a public hearing so we can adopt a moratorium ordinance like we did for the vape and smoke shops.
So just to be clear, though, the way that the state regulations are out there, it's 1,000 feet in a straight line. So 501 and 245 Broadway are not in a straight. 501 State and 245 Broadway, it's 1,300 feet anyway. So it meets the test.
It's 1,300, right? But
it meets the test.
Excuse me?
It meets the test of 1,000 to begin with, and it's also not in a straight line.
Yeah.
So
we can, as we did in the lines for the vape shops, we can do the lining. When how we did the lines, we can do that for how many feet away. So we can do that through the zoning code.
So I just want to be clear. We can do something and override what the state has said and put in there.
Because it's our zoning, it's our zoning ordinance can set certain parameters. As for distances.
Okay. Mr. Carroll?
Yes, thank you. What about the applications that are already in?
They would have to be processed to be grandfathered in, but similar to the moratorium. But going forward, we should be aware of this. We should be proactively looking at this situation.
So the licenses are there, we just have to let them move forward? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if it's already in process. But if they haven't gotten the license yet, that's we don't know what the status is.
Right. Well, a few people, there are people with their license already, so. So at this point in time, the ask is whether we want to call for a public hearing to ask for a 90-day moratorium in terms of zoning for cannabis. So, you have a question?
I would say yes, thank you.
Any other discussion around that?
I'll make that motion.
You'll make a motion to call for public hearing?
Yes.
All right, I'll second.
Yeah, and
Yes.
in fact, regarding I'm going to research that issue regarding the foot, the feet between each one. What's the measurement? I want to make sure that we're okay with complying with the state, but also build our ability to locate these establishments pursuant to our code. So let me just state that I want to double and triple check that the feet distance.
Yes.
Okay.
And that would be, I wouldn't want us to pass something and the state's like, no, you can't do that.
But I want to definitely take a look at that and.
So while you're looking at that, I don't know, this seems like it's a very fluid process at OCM. And so if we could just make sure that we're guided by the most up-to-date legislation that they've been putting forward,
Madam Chair, Madam President, it's a good observation because there was an article in the New York State Bar Journal about that, the very situation, referring to it as a dynamic situation. The words are substance to that because to accommodate these shifts, and so everybody has to be flexible. And yes, this is a dynamic situation for both the state as well as for us.
All right, so, yes.
Just saying, you do like the revenue.
Well, I will comment that, I think that had we had more full information even before we made the decision about whether we were going to opt in or opt out, it was that double negative thing. So yes, it's been very fluid and dynamic, and you know, I think some of our decisions might have been different had we had a clearer picture from the start. So I think we have to vote on the...
So, yeah, so just saying, I did want to opt out just because, so we wouldn't be here. Didn't know we'd be exactly here, but we give us more time. But we are here now, and now we have to try to figure how we remedy this. So motion to call for a public hearing
Yes.
to consider a 90-day moratorium.
Moratorium, correct.
All right.
I'll move that.
I'll second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We did it twice.
Yeah, we did do it. I just didn't think we had voted.
Okay. All right, the final items are about property sales, and they'll be done in executive session. So at this point in time, I'll ask for a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Members of the public will have to leave. Thank you.